I wanted to welcome everyone tonight. Thank you all for being here. My name is Jeffrey Goodman. I'm the Director of Marketing and Development for the YMCA of Northwest Louisiana. And I just wanted to say a few words before I hand things off to Verni. We're so thrilled to partner with Providence House to host tonight's screening. I had an opportunity to see the film a couple weeks ago, and I was so moved, as I know everyone here will be. In February, we started a new initiative at the Y entitled Shreveport-Bossier, My City, My Community, My Home. This initiative consists of two components. The first are periodic community events like tonight. And then the second piece of this is we're doing weekly podcast interviews with different folks in the community talking about what the community looks like from his or her perspective. And we're trying to be as kaleidoscopic with this project as we possibly can, try to hit as many walks of life in the community so that people in the community really feel like we're depicting what this place truly feels and looks like. The purpose of this initiative is to work together as a community to help cultivate a healthier self-image about us as a community. And we're doing this by focusing on the people among us doing positive and important work like Verni and Providence House. Tonight is our 5th community event as part of this new initiative, and we've published 35 podcast episodes so far, one of which was an interview with Verni. And all of those podcasts can be found on the YMCA of Northwest Louisiana's YouTube channel. We're grateful that all of you took the time tonight to be here, and we're grateful to Providence House for giving the Y the opportunity to be a part of this special evening. So thank you.
I am Verni Howard, and I have the privilege and the honor and the responsibility of being Executive Director at Providence House. And I know most of you in this room. And if I told you that I've been there almost 7 years, how many of you would believe that? Because I don't believe that. I left with a career as a corporate and commercial banker at JP Chase to do what I like to call my dream job. And so every day I get up, I get to help homeless families with children to start afresh. I am so excited about this documentary because, truth be told, I had to lie a little bit, and I had to finagle a whole lot to get our 2 founders to commit to allowing us to tell the story about their vision. And this documentary is really about how 2 tenacious, brave, fearless women identified an issue in our community. They had no experience with homelessness or how to resolve homelessness, but they had the zeal and the go-get-em to rally a whole community around one issue, and that issue being homelessness. And so Jean Sayres and Marianne Selber have blazed a path wide enough whereby they have created room for all of us to do good work that we find passion and where we find a need. And what I love about putting this documentary together is that they made me commit that the story would not be about them. And they would tell me that ever since I've been at Providence House, this is not about us, this is not about us. And as I started to interview, I realized exactly what they were saying. It took this entire community to create this space and place that we know as Providence House. And when I started to interview people, I'm talking every church from every denomination. I'm talking youth groups. I'm talking investment bankers and teachers and just volunteers and you name it, they were involved in the cultivation of what we now know as Providence House. And so as we enter into our 35th year in January, I want y'all to let that settle. 35 years, this little grassroots, little bitty nonprofit that's on a hill at 814 Cotton Street, 35 years later, would remain one of the most significant nonprofits in our city. And those are not just my words. Those are the words of our mayor. Those are the words of every city councilman. Those are the words of our housing authority. All of the movers and shakers and those that help us every day say the exact same thing. And so what you will hear in this documentary, and I'm gonna stop talking because I want you to meet the founders, but what you're gonna hear in this documentary is that these two women boldly on film say, we had no fear. And I am thinking, every single day I wake up, I have fear. I fear, what if I miss the mark? I fear, what if we don't have what we need to help a family? I fear, what if we can't serve everybody who has the need? And so, the fear that I have is a different kind of fear. And there is such great need in our community. And I will tell you, everywhere you go, no matter how young you are in this room or how old you are in this room, you have encountered a family or a person or a child that is homeless. Even today, even right now, there are families in this room that call Providence home. We don't wear t-shirts that say, hey, I live at Providence House, or hey, I was once upon a time homeless. That's not how it works. But let me tell you, it was a dawning moment for me. I was my 12-year-old son, who's a 6th grader at Caddo Middle Magnet, had gone to St. Mark's, had attended Fairfield Elementary Magnet, now 6th grader. I was talking to one of his friends. His mom had been in the hospital for several weeks, and it was Matthew's birthday party. And so I went over to talk to Matthew's friend, and I said, hey, I bet y'all been eating junk since your mom's been in the hospital. And this 12-year-old boy, who had also gone to Fairfield Elementary Magnet, and who sits with Matthew at Caddo Middle Magnet, they are Boy Scouts together, they play together. His words back to me were, well, no, we haven't, because there's not much food in the house. I want you to try that on. I work every single day helping homeless families with children. And here is my son's best friend who is saying to me that we don't have food in the house. And I did exactly what I do at Providence House. I got in my car and I went to Brookshire's, and y'all know how expensive it is to grocery shop. You know, I tried to give my kids a budget and they were like, what's that? But I went to Brookshire's and I shopped for that family. And I took food unbeknownst to my 12-year-old son because I didn't want to embarrass his 12-year-old friend. But this is what our community looks like. And if we look in this room today, it can be any of us, any day of the week. So the work that we do at Providence House and the work that you're going to see in this documentary is more critical in 2022 than it was in 1988 when we started. So I want you to listen, and I want you to learn, and I want you to ask questions. These panelists are not just here for dressing. After you see this documentary, I want us to begin to ask those hard questions. So just as Jeff said, that we can have those thoughtful conversations, and we will begin to understand that we are more alike than we are different. And that if we all rally together around one cause, no matter what that cause is, for us it's homelessness, for you it could be whatever. But when a community comes together and we galvanize others, we can really change our community. So thank you for coming. I hope you enjoy. Jean, Marianne, I will pass you the mic if you'd like to just do an introduction. They said no. We're gonna see look, I listen. I've learned very well. These are our two founders, Jean Sayres and Marianne Selber, and we will all be available for questions and answers after the documentary. But I want you to enjoy what I want you to feel. And I don't want us to walk away from this room just feeling and not knowing how to act after we see the film. So with that being said, Victoria, if you'll get the lights, and Mr. Stubbs, if you and Jeff will press play, I invite you to Shelter from the Storm, a Providence House documentary. Some very key people, and this is the critical part of our Q&A. But before we do Q&A, I want you to understand you're not doing Q&A with me. In this room is a family that is right now going through Providence House. And all of the stuff you saw, those were not canned photos. Those were not, people ask me, Verni, where are the homeless people? They're everywhere. They're around us. They're in our community. And so we were so pleased to provide a real snapshot of what our community looks like. I work with an amazing group of humanitarians, people who allow me to lead. Michael Stubbs, who came to Providence House from Katrina with his family, is sitting right back there. He's one of our longest tenured employees. Michael Stubbs, wave your hand. In the documentary, you met a board member who gave his services, so that architectural services, but gave so much more than that. And he is so near and dear to my heart. I got the phone call that, Verni, you got the job, from this board member. So Clarence Babineau, will you please stand so we can recognize you? I have staff members that just knew we were having an encore and just showed up. And that they are just amazing. So all Providence House staff members, will you just raise your hand, stand up so we can see you, so they can see you. Bruce and Shai, Shelly and Corey, and Lakeisha and Wendy. And then right before you hear from this family, because that's where you should ask your questions. You've seen what we've told you, but I want to introduce you a very special family. Before I do that, I want to acknowledge a woman in the room who was just like my mother. When I was growing up, she raised me. I lost my mom and dad last year, 4 months apart, and I was like, I am not gonna survive this. But it's so good to have a community that surrounds you. And so this woman is near and dear to me. Her son and I and daughter grew up. She raised us, and she knows all about my mischief, which she will not share. So I want Johnny Hampton to just raise their hand, who helped to raise me. And if my mama didn't spank me first, she got to me, and then my mom got to me. So what you saw, a lot to digest, a lot to take in, a lot to take in. Well, what we do every single day, of course, you know how we got started. But I want you to, because if you look in this room, if you just take a quick glance around, nobody looks homeless in this room, correct? I want you to hear from a homeless family that started at ground zero. They're still with us today, but their lives have been drastically and dramatically changed because we moved from 1988 to 2022. Because we recognized that education had to go beyond a high set, that we needed college education, that we needed certification so that people could earn a living wage. We knew that we needed to keep families together. We got a phone call last Tuesday. The police department picked up a family of 11 and took them to the rescue mission. The rescue mission called me and said, hey, Verni, we've never seen this before. We don't normally take 15-year-old boys and we've got to separate them. And I said, you'll do no such thing. And so they sent them to Providence House. What you see is what we continue to do every single day. So I'm going to invite my family, because every Providence House family is my family, to be our guest. And I would like any questions while we have Q&A. I'd like for you to, this family's been so kind and willing to share their story. I want you to be able to ask this family the questions, but we are also here to answer those questions that you may have about Providence House. So I'd like to introduce, and I see some the cutest little boy in the whole room holding his head down. Would you like to come up now with Dad? You want to join? He doesn't know I'm sleepy now. Okay, I'm going to invite the whole family. Why don't y'all come up? Would you mind coming up? And I'm going to ask Miss Florence and Miss Bristow to take their seats, and they're going to take this seat. And I'm going to stay here and have a seat. I want you to be comfortable. And I want you to be able to ask questions. Because what we do is evidence in this family. So, who wants to start? And you can direct your questions wherever you want. If you want them to start with me, or if you want to start your questions with the family. But we want to be able, and I think Jeff said it best, to have a healthy conversation, a real conversation, not about those people who are homeless, those people that we saw on the screen, but this family. See, that's what we see. We see those people, and we don't see ourselves. So we want it to be very personal. I just invited them to come. Didn't prep them. That's what I do. I won't tell them anything. Just say, y'all come. But we're very grateful for their presence here, and they can tell their story more better than I can. So let's start with questions from the audience. And I'll tell you, when I first saw this documentary, every time I see it, I see something new. And I experience something different. And I feel an emotion that I didn't know that I had. But it started with a gentleman who lives in a camp, and it's right next to Hope Connections, who said, can you imagine somebody eating out of the garbage can? And he said, I'm not depressed. I'm not depressed about my conditions. And those are words of people who have no idea that life is not supposed to be lived like that. That life can be better. And that's our job every single day, to make sure that life is better. All right, Jeff is gonna pass the mic. Who has the first question? Clarence, please stand.
What led your family to Providence House? What were the circumstances?
You want me to just give you the mic, or you want to come up? Okay, come on.
Well, naturally there was some poor choices involved along the way, but a lot of it had to do with COVID and not having the opportunities for the education and the things that they offered there. I mean, we weren't homeless in the sense of the word. You think of someone on the street. I mean, but we didn't have an environment that was a safe, clean environment that we could be together as a family. And they immediately just said, "Hey, y'all need to be together." Their main concern was that we stay together as a family, and everywhere else had turned their back and shut their door. And your wife and your son can come, but you can't. We ran into that, and it wasn't that necessarily that we had nowhere to go, but there was nowhere to go that you would want to be. And the change in the environment and the change in the people that you're around, and I didn't change. I just changed my environment, and I changed the people that I associated with, and it's been a blessing. So thank y'all.
I'm interested in knowing how you discovered that Providence House existed.
Well, I had a niece that had gone through the program last year, and so I had heard about it, but I didn't really know what it was about. And so we weren't living together at the time, and it was really wearing on me. Being without them was just, it was another level of distraught and depression that I just couldn't deal with. And that within 3 hours of making a phone call, they had us there in a room and had me signing up to take some college classes. Within the week, just in a month's time. We've been there maybe 2 months now.
Whether it was through an agency that you had learned about it, or?
No, it was an individual, and then my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because she actually was over at a rescue mission that wouldn't allow us to be together, and so It was not, I mean, I know they mean well, they want to help, but, I mean, it's never a good thing to take a family apart.
Who else? Don't be so quiet.
Well, I want to know something. What kind of educational opportunities are you having now?
Well,
What do you think you need?
I got the class, the IRT class, the industrial readiness.
Tell them, yeah.
Oh yeah, the IRT. I'm sorry, the IRT industrial readiness class that Bitsy offered. They did it right there across the street. I was able to take my wife and my son to class. It was real convenient. They give you an opportunity that the only way that you don't make it is if you don't try. I mean, if you don't try, I'm sure that they see it every day, but it was a hard thing for me to swallow my pride and say I needed some help. And so I cried in this teacher's office. I was like, I don't want to be here, but after the first month, I was like, I don't need to be anywhere else right now. So, thank you.
Any more questions? Yes.
So can I ask about your family? So are you in a program at the house as well? And then are your kids, how are your kids?
Oh, I'm usually pretty loud. Are you in a program, and then are your kids school age, and can you just tell us a little bit about that? And the reason I'm asking about you and your kids, I lead a support group for single pregnant mothers, and my situation is a little bit different, but it all kind of starts around the same place.
Right. Well, he couldn't take the IRT class if they didn't have 3 people in it. Not that I would ever drive a crane, but I stepped up and was the 3rd person in the class so he could get certified. Well, in that process, I got certified as well.
And what are you
So I got my OSHA 10 certification, my RRT driving a forklift. That was nerve-wracking because they got me like that close to the Providence van, but I made it. And they said that he knew that I could handle it, and I did. I stepped up and handled it. I got 6 different certifications just because
I needed you.
he needed me too. Because he wouldn't have got them if I didn't get them. So I got them, even though I'll probably never drive a crane.
You don't tell them what you do.
Yeah, she got a job for the city now.
How many other people in this room can drive a train?
Well, I am working for the city of Shreveport. I started as a meter reader, and I went one day for a meter reader. And the very next morning when I went in, they asked me if I knew anything about computers or if I'd be willing to learn. And I said yes, I'm teachable. So they asked me to come in, and now I am working with the supervisors, and I've only been there a month so far, and I have my own office, my own parking spot, and my actual title is called Maintenance Technician 2. So
I won't be able to tell her anything now. She makes more money than me. But yeah, our son goes to Broadmoor STEM Academy, and that's another thing. The bus came all the way from there to Providence House just to get 3 kids and take them to school. I mean, like you can't ask for anything more than what these people are doing. I mean, you just can't. I mean, none of us really probably deserve it, but I want to say thank y'all so much again. And like getting to be with my family, you can't put a price on that.
great partnership with Caddo and Bossier parishes. So when a family comes to Providence House, if their children are already in school, we don't remove those children from those schools. So the buses come to Providence House, and then they'll make a switch to get those kids to the right schools. So we are trying to provide stability and normalcy for all of our children. But that goes back, to partnership. While we partner with BIPSI on Adult High Set, we had never partnered with them to ask them to bring their campus to our campus. And people told me, "Are you crazy?" And I was like, "Maybe just a little." But guess what? We now have an extension of BIPSI on our campus. So our students have the same rights and BIPSI IDs and all of that stuff. The same professors come to Providence House at 814 Cotton Street to teach the exact same courses. And so because we have a 10,000 square foot warehouse, we have a forklift. So they don't have to go somewhere else to learn how to operate a forklift. So those are the things that we have that we provide to our families to make sure that they have a better life. That's what you do every single day when you help us to provide a better life. And so now they're on the list for their own house. And so we're cheering them on, and we're gonna make sure they have what they need in their house so that they can have a self-sufficient life. And then they understand it's their responsibility to reach back, to give back. Yeah. Any other questions about the documentary, about what you saw? Jeff, closing remarks? I want to do this because we are proper Southerners, and you don't come to somebody's house without a gift. And so Jeff Goodman, on behalf of Providence House, the entire board of directors, we just want to present you with a keepsake from this documentary. We've already been asked to take our show on the road and enter it into film festivals. I just needed to get through today before I could think about anything else. But we want you to have this. This man works really hard. Y'all give him a hand. He works so hard for this community. I'm so grateful for you. You put that on your desk. Nobody leaves without a gift. And so we want you to have a keepsake from this moment. But we have these little cards. They're called shareable moments. Have you ever had a rotten day and you just needed to give somebody else a little uplift? So we have given you all, we have a keepsake for everybody so that you can keep yourself uplifted, but also that you can share with somebody else. Because if you think you are going through a storm, somebody next to you is going through a hurricane, and somebody else next to you is going through a typhoon. But when we all work together, we are certainly a better community when we work together. So on behalf of our entire board of directors, our staff, thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for learning more about who we are and what we do and why we do it. Thank you for being a part of that. And if you're thinking to yourself, I wonder how I can get more engaged, become more engaged. Even if it's not with Providence House, but in your community, choose your nonprofit of choice. It should be Providence House. And I have some handouts for you to take with you. But choose something that you are passionate about and give all your energy to it. And that's how we're going to change our community. That's how we're going to reduce crime in our community. That's how we're going to make it a safe place for our children and our grandchildren. It's when we act like these two and have no fear and just get up and do it. And then when you rally a community behind you, we can do great things. So thank you for coming. We are so proud of this place. In January, we will celebrate our 35th anniversary. So we're gonna have big parties in January to celebrate what we've done. And when I say we, they've allowed me to come along for the journey. But we're gonna celebrate what these women have done in this community because the need is still great. With all that, have a safe travels home. We wish you a happy holiday season as we're coming up on Thanksgiving, and thank you for all that you do for the families of Providence House. Give yourselves a hand. Thank you. Oh, did y'all get, pull out your tickets, door prizes. Providence House has these beautiful Twice Blessed cards that we designed. They are absolutely gorgeous. And we have 2 sets to share with a lucky winner. And when you see them, if you're envious, we brought more if you'd like to purchase them. And so the first set, and they think I can see this baby number. The last four. Girl, what is that? What's the last word? I cannot see that. 9699. Yes. Your cards are right there at the, oh, Tori has them. If you purchase these, we hand address the envelopes, we stamp them, and the reason we call them twice blessed is because you bless the person that you send it to, but it's also a financial blessing to Providence House. And so if you'd like to purchase, and I know some of you in here buy them all the time, and you probably got the letter from us already. If you want to use your list from the year before, you can certainly do that, but we also have some here. The second set will go to, this is why you hire young people.
It's 9688.
9688. 9688, going once, going twice. All right. $9690. 9690. Who is it? Oh, yay! All right. And even though I know they didn't want to have a word, would y'all like to have a closing word? I'll pass the mic if you want to say anything.
No, but we just appreciate everybody coming, and I know Verni and her staff and everybody worked so hard on this film, and even though Jean and I at first said, oh no, but anyway, we think it's great what you've done and what y'all continue to do in the community. We appreciate everybody's support.
And I'm sorry for lying. Thank y'all so much. Have a good evening.